Thank you for joining us. I am here today with John Vitt, who is a longtime Portsmouth resident, and he tells me the official Portsmouth Business Association greeter, as well as Eric Offenberg, who is an engineer, a longtime Portsmouth resident and landowner, and currently the owner of Weathervane Cottages, which is what we'll be talking about today, and also the co-owner of A1 soccer team. So thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen.
Pleasure. Especially for,
Absolutely.
especially for him and this.
That's right. I'm very excited to talk about this,
and
so especially to talk with you, John, because you are just a plethora of information. And I think maybe what we should do is start with the history. So why don't we talk a little bit about the history of that land and those buildings and what it was before it was Weathervane Cottages?
When I got there, it was Twin Lanterns, but I'm trying to remember there was another name for it, and I'm trying to bring up the other name.
Sunset Cabins.
Yes, thank you. Sunset Cabins, yes, and that was the one from the late 50s into the 60s.
Yep.
And they were very popular with sailors, guys, the Navy guys, just like the other ones over by Newport restaurant there. What was the Motordale? Floordale Motor Courts.
Sure.
So there were 8 of them there, and I came into them when Bob Brandt and his wife Patty owned them, and they were thinking about getting out of them. They came into them through a deed from the credit union. I guess the previous owner, the credit union, took the property back. Bob did a good job for when Bob, and I'm going to say late 70s, early 80s, I think, is when Bob and his wife acquired the property. And they operated, they rented those cabins out. Some cabins were for weekly rentals and some were for monthly rentals. All right, and they did a good job with them, but the property needed too much work. Bob started getting old. Bob passed away.
Okay.
Patty was stuck with the property, and Patty and I talked about selling it. I had a couple of other opportunities to sell it for her, but they just didn't come to fruition, right? One of the opportunities brought a gentleman from Warren, Rhode Island with him. And that particular gentleman found an acquaintance of mine, a business contact of mine in Fall River, Mr. Dominguez, and got Mr. Dominguez to buy the property.
Okay.
And then the gentleman from Warren, Rhode Island, created a junkyard there.
It was a junkyard. Okay.
How about this is so fun to talk about this. This is a good fun story. Billy rented the front house, okay, to a friend of mine's brother and his wife and the kids. And he paid an $1,800 cash security deposit, $1,800 rent, $3,600 in cash to Billy. And Billy says, "I'll be right back, I'll get the receipt." Never went and got a receipt. They're living there. It's the end of the first month they're living there. And Dominguez wants to go down and check out the house. He just walks right in. He has no idea that the property's been rented.
Oh, no.
And Annie was there, and he said, "Who are you?" She said, so I happened to come onto the property while this was going on, and Billy was there too, and and then the brother came. It was phenomenal that Billy just looked at Dominguez and lied right to him, saying, "No." He didn't rent the place. Anyway, that was the sign that Dominguez had to get out of there.
Right.
Okay, and and then when Eric and I started talking about it, we both saw the potential, but in his engineering capacity,
right,
and and having Kevin, who's a more than qualified contractor, exceptional.
And Kevin who?
Korstein.
Got
his partner.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they just did such a phenomenal job there. What was the word that I used before? It was
incredulous.
It's one of the most incredulous transformations I have seen on Aquidneck Island.
Absolutely. And Eric, you just posted on your Facebook page, I believe, a little before and after, and it's even a little bit later than what John is talking about. So it was a junkyard. The pictures you posted was a little bit further out from that time. Am I correct with that?
It is a little bit farther. So when we first bought it, the property was totally overgrown. Yep. There was trailers there. There was an abandoned boats and all sorts of piles of debris. So the picture I posted today, it was when we started cleaning everything up. We had probably 15 dumpsters come in to take all of the stuff away. And then we still had some of the original cottages. So as John mentioned, it was Sunset Cabins in campground.
Okay.
So back in the 50s, they had these 8 little cottages, and the cottages were about 120 square feet each. And they also had up to 50 tent sites. So the bigger piece of the property was actually camping. It was tents. So they had a lot of tents that were in, the back area up in the woods. So when we first went in there, John said, Eric, you got to come look at this. And I'm like, John, I'll look at anything with you. Like, he and I have talked for a long, long time. I've known him for a long time. And so he brought me up there, and I just started laughing. I go, are you serious? This can't be it. The grass was 1.5 feet tall, these trailers, the abandoned boats, the debris was everywhere. The driveway was non-existent. You couldn't see it. And then he started walking me around.
Right.
He goes, Eric, just think about what you could do here. And we walked around, we looked at it, and then I brought my partner, Kevin Korstein. He came out, he looked at it, and the two of us were kind of looking around, and we said, you know what, we might be able to do something with this. And we did. The hardest part was getting our wives to agree.
Right.
They were terrified. They thought we were absolutely crazy doing this. And John tried as good as he could to get the wives on board, but they did eventually come on board. And when we went to redo the property, we went on a road trip all throughout New England. And if you go back to the period between the 1930s and the 1950s, these little motor courts, they were called. And you have these little cabins and cottages and tents. And everybody had a car at that time. They all wanted to travel somewhere. So if you go to the Cape, you see these everywhere, all through Vermont, New Hampshire.
Sure.
So we did a little road trip, and we started thinking about what we could do. We realized we couldn't salvage any of the cottages. So we came up with a design to really fit as much as we could in there now. The units are 225 square feet apiece. So we put 8 of those cottages in. We redid the original house on the property that was from the 1930s. Totally renovated that. So you've got 2 bedrooms, you've got a lounge in there, beautiful kitchen and bathroom. And then the piece that we added that we really love are the glamping tents.
Right, I saw that.
So we went to a show in Denver, Colorado, the largest glamping show in the entire world.
How cool.
I love that.
And we saw these tents, these safari tents,
Yeah.
and they're amazing. So we have a 2-bedroom tent.
Oh,
It
fun.
literally has 2 bedrooms with
Yeah.
queen-size beds in there. It's got air conditioning, refrigerators, lighting, everything that you could imagine in there. And it was part of the overall package. So when we really started to look at all the amenities, all the fire pits, the tents, the yard games, we have an outdoor kitchen set up there, a gazebo. So it's perfect now for groups from 2 to 32.
Wonderful.
Anybody can go in there. You can rent one, multiple, and it was really fun doing the transformation.
And how long did that transformation take for you from start to finish?
It took us about 3 years. So we had to do all the research. We had to go and get financing for it. We worked with Centerville Bank. They were fantastic.
Great.
And we had to go through the town. So working through the town of Portsmouth, everybody was very receptive, but you just have to follow the steps.
Sure.
So we had to go to the zoning board. We had to go work with the building officials and get all of the information. And
It didn't help that Bob had taken 4 cottages down without demolition permits.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Because that was a.
it was a bit of.
But the town was able to go back and look at some old photos and see that they were there.
That's wonderful. And what year was this? When was the 3-year time period?
This probably 2022.
Okay.
This is our very first year that we're fully open. So this summer we have all the tents open, all the cottages, the bungalow, the whole facility is up and running. We have weddings that have booked to have the wedding party stay at the place.
What a trip. Now, John, when you hear this, well, how does that feel? What do you think about that?
I'm getting a little verklempt.
Right.
Okay, because again, when we had the PBA open house there, I couldn't wait, by the way, to go there. And because I harass him on the phone every now and then. And then when I got there and I'm looking around for everybody and everybody's in the house, but it's like, Jen, it was like I'm standing there and I can go back in my mind and stand in that same sewer cover. All right, right in front of this guy right here. Okay, and I can, there's so much I can remember about the property, and I could see, and I'm like, wow.
Yes.
And then we went in the house, and I remember the house pretty well. I was in there enough times, and then to walk around the property, see the transformation of beautiful Cottages,
Yes.
with all the stuff that I would want. This is a 2026 motor court.
Right.
Okay, because, all right, so, and again, I think it's going to serve Portsmouth and Aquidneck Island very well. And then, of course, the tents blew my mind. That was it. But I know that he had, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but I knew that he had to go through a lot of pains to build that the way he built it.
Yeah, and it's pristine, the way it's designed and
Plus,
decorated.
pristine plus.
Pristine plus plus plus.
Right,
It's so well done.
We love it. And for us, our family, the Korstein family, we're local. We've been here forever.
That's it.
And part of doing this for us is to be able to give back.
That's it.
So we donate nights all the time to local groups whenever we can. We participate in the community. We're members of the Portsmouth Business Association. We really want to be here. We want locals to know that this is here. When you look around and you see everything else that's going on there, for us it really is a good way to give back.
That's great.
And we try and be as active as we can with it.
That's wonderful. When we had that Portsmouth Business Association open house just a couple of weeks ago, I think the weather had just turned. It was such a great turnout, and everyone had such a good time. They don't even know what they're walking on, the history and the pathways and the land and everything. So seeing something like this and your social media post and showing those images, and I think more will be coming soon so people can really appreciate all the work that you and Kevin had put into this project.
Good, outstanding transformation, outstanding.
And I'm thinking that maybe Eric just might be a great partner for the official Portsmouth Business Association Greeter Club. Maybe you'll let him in because he now has this
I don't want to steal his thunder.
I just think it would work. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Can I add
one more thought? Sure.
One more thought.
Go right ahead.
And again, we worked together when he was at the Turnpike and Bridge Authority, and I just want to remind anybody in 02871 that this Sunday, June 14th, above and beyond being Flag Day, is also the day that the Turnpike and Bridge Authority shut the toll off on the Secana River Bridge, June 14th, 2014.
Interesting. Thank you for that bit of information, John. Always a pleasure. Love sitting down and talking with you. Thank you, Eric, for being here.
Jen, thank you for having us.
Really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us.